Have you ever felt utterly exhausted throughout the day, only to find yourself inexplicably wide awake the moment your head touches the pillow? This frustrating paradox is a common experience, holding the key to a profound biological symphony happening just beneath your awareness. As daylight fades, a delicate internal transition is supposed to occur, guiding us gently from the demands of waking life into the restorative embrace of sleep. We understand that the modern evening is often filled with artificial illumination and lingering stress, which easily masks this natural transition. When the environment around us refuses to dim, our bodies struggle to recognize that the time for rest has arrived. This subtle confusion ripples through our physiology, creating a barrier between our conscious desire to sleep and our physical ability to surrender. The secret lies in the ancient language of light. At the heart of this rhythmic language is the circadian rhythm, our internal biological clock. This roughly 24-hour cycle dictates the ebb and flow of our energy, digestion, and sleep patterns. It is an evolutionary masterpiece, ensuring that our internal processes are synchronized with the turning of the earth. Research shows that this invisible clock operates continuously, anticipating our needs and preparing our bodies for the night. The conductor of this intricate biological orchestra is a tiny, remarkable region of the hypothalamus known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Nestled deep within the brain, directly above where the optic nerves cross, this master clock is uniquely positioned to monitor our environment. It continuously gathers precise environmental data, translating the external world into a cascade of internal chemical signals that govern our daily existence without any conscious effort. When this master clock functions undisturbed, the transition into rest feels effortless. The suprachiasmatic nucleus orchestrates a gradual quietening of the nervous system, signaling to various organs that the day's labor is concluding. Heart rates begin to steady, and the mind starts to untangle from its daily web of thoughts. This profound internal coordination creates the ideal physiological landscape for sleep, proving that rest is an active, highly organized biological state. The primary messenger utilized by this master clock is melatonin, often beautifully described as the hormone of darkness. Produced by the pineal gland, a small structure in the brain, melatonin is the chemical embodiment of twilight. It does not forcefully induce sleep like a sedative might. Rather, it acts as a gentle biological usher, circulating through the bloodstream to announce to every cell that the time for repair is approaching. Explaining the biological mechanism of melatonin release reveals a marvel of precision. As daylight wanes, the suprachiasmatic nucleus detects the fading light and sends a signal to the pineal gland, granting it permission to begin production. As melatonin levels slowly rise in the blood and cerebrospinal fluid, they bind to specific receptors throughout the body. This binding process initiates a cascade of calming effects, preparing the physical vessel for deep restorative work. One of the most profound effects of this rising tide of melatonin is a subtle drop in core body temperature. This cooling is an essential prerequisite for entering the deeper, most restorative stages of rest. As the body cools, the mind often follows, experiencing a natural deceleration of thought. The presence of this hormone transforms the internal environment into a sanctuary, creating optimal conditions for the brain to transition into profound slumber. To understand how the master clock knows when to release this hormone, we must look to the eyes. Specifically, we must look to a specialized group of cells in the retina called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, or simply photoreceptors. These unique photoreceptors exist solely to measure the ambient brightness of our surroundings. They act as the brain's direct window to the solar day, independent of our visual perception of shapes. These photoreceptors contain a light-sensitive protein called melanopsin, which is particularly responsive to the short wavelength light abundant in natural sunshine. When struck by this light, the photoreceptors send an electrical impulse along a dedicated pathway directly to the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This continuous stream of data informs the brain that it is daytime, actively suppressing the production of the twilight hormone and keeping us alert and engaged with the waking world. For millennia, this elegant system worked in perfect harmony with the natural world. The rising sun provided the stark, bright signal to awaken, while the gradual fading of light at dusk offered a long, gentle runway for the nervous system to wind down. Our ancestors naturally aligned their activities with the celestial rhythm. The internal clock and the external environment were seamlessly intertwined, fostering deep, uninterrupted rest beneath the night sky. However, the modern era has introduced a profound disruption to this ancient harmony. The advent of artificial illumination has fractured the natural boundary between day and night. We now inhabit environments bathed in synthetic sunshine long after the actual sun has dipped below the horizon. This pervasive light pollution creates a state of perpetual daytime within our homes, fundamentally confusing the delicate biological sensors that have guided human sleep for countless generations. The most significant culprit in this modern disruption is blue light. Emitted intensely by our smartphones, tablets, computer screens, and energy-efficient LED bulbs, blue light closely mimics the solar radiation of midday. When we stare into these screens during the evening hours, the photoreceptors in our eyes are flooded with these short wavelengths. The brain mistakenly interprets this digital glow as a bright morning, sending urgent signals to halt rest preparations. Because this specific wavelength interferes so heavily with our natural sensors, the master clock actively suppresses the release of our twilight hormone. The physical consequence is a delayed sleep phase. The body remains in a state of artificial alertness, the core temperature stays elevated, and the mind continues to race. We may lie in bed, physically exhausted from the day's demands, yet biologically wired for wakefulness, caught in a frustrating limbo. To reclaim our nights, we must consciously curate our evening environments, a practice often referred to as sleep hygiene. This concept involves creating a set of behaviors and environmental adjustments that clearly signal to the body that the day is over. By understanding the profound impact of our surroundings on our internal rhythms, we can begin to build a sanctuary that supports our natural biology, returning to a state of alignment. One of the most powerful steps we can take is managing our light exposure in the hours leading up to bedtime. Studies suggest that dimming the lights in our homes and utilizing warm, amber-toned lamps can dramatically reduce the suppression of our natural sleep signals. By minimizing exposure to bright screens at least an hour before resting, we allow the photoreceptors to finally register the arrival of dusk. Establishing a consistent twilight routine further reinforces this biological transition. Engaging in calming activities such as reading a physical book, listening to gentle music, or taking a warm bath can help lower the core body temperature and soothe the nervous system. These deliberate actions serve as behavioral cues, working in tandem with the dimming light to assure the mind that it is safe to let go of the day's vigilance. As the external environment dims, we can also cultivate an internal dimming through the practice of mindfulness, Focusing on the slow, rhythmic rise and fall of the breath helps to anchor the mind in the present moment, drawing attention away from lingering anxieties. This gentle inward focus activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural relaxation mode. The quiet breath becomes a familiar anchor, harmonizing with the rising tide of sleep hormones. When we align our modern habits with our evolutionary biology, the transformation is profound. The internal clock, once confused by erratic light signals, regains its steady, predictable cadence. The hormone of darkness flows freely, cooling the body and quieting the mind. We move beyond the struggle of trying to force sleep, instead creating the perfect, welcoming conditions for it to naturally emerge. The rhythm of light and dark resumes its rightful place. Ultimately, understanding how our sleep cycle is regulated is an invitation to work with our bodies rather than against them. It is a reminder that we are deeply connected to the natural world, influenced by the subtle shifts of light and the turning of the earth. By honoring this connection and protecting our evening environment, we can rediscover the profound, restorative power of true rest, awakening each morning refreshed and renewed.